This DeepSeek model of China, is it the Sputnik movement?
Now, talking about DeepSeek model or DeepSeek R1 model, which is recently being released by China, it is a kind of like Sputnik movement, as Sputnik has paced up the kind of space race or produced the cheaper space-related exploration vehicles.
Now, what DeepSeek did, it was actually a slap on the face of the United States. It may be slightly strongly worded, but it's very true.
We talk about race of AI. It is also a race for global supremacy. So where do India stand in this race?
If we compare India's position with respect to China and the United States, of course, it's not that impressive. The primary reason is the physical infrastructure. The second most important pillar when it comes to AI model, which is data sets. India does not have quality data sets.
First important thing is to lead this particular race, first we have to be in the race.
Hello and welcome to The Perspective, where we delve into important national and international issues shaping our future. Today we will tackle a very important question. As the world races for supremacy in artificial intelligence, can India catch up to US and China? US is already a global leader when it comes to artificial intelligence. Companies like OpenAI and Gemini by Google are already a world leading AI companies. China has recently stormed this AI ecosystem with its new model, that is DeepSeek. So where do India stand in all this, and can we really catch up? Let's discuss this with our esteemed panelists Vishal Sir and Chiranjeet Sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Kapil.
Thank you.
So Vishal Sir, the artificial intelligence has arrived. It is already changing the life of the people. It is disrupting society, whether it is economic field, whether it is political field, right? And recently came a very major disruption. So this DeepSeek model of China, is it the Sputnik movement?
So, Kapil, as in the introductory remarks, you have aptly highlighted that AI is transforming each and every field. Now, talking about DeepSeek model or DeepSeek R1 model, which is recently being released by China. So, some of people are telling that it is a kind of like Sputnik movement, as Sputnik has paced up the kind of space race or produced the cheaper space-related exploration vehicles. So, to some extent, yes, we can say, but before that, as you have asked about what is DeepSeek basically, so it is an open source large language model, which we say as LLM. So, this is as developed by a Chinese company. So, now why it is very, very important. So, before understanding that particular thing, first let's understand about what is a LLM model. So, LLM or large language model is basically a AI which is trained on a large set of data in order to perceive and generate the human-like responses. Now, when we are perceiving and generating the human-like responses, so it's not like the DeepSeek is the first company to generate these kind of responses, right? Previously, the OpenAI, as you have also highlighted, there is Gemini also, there is Lambda also. So all of them are exploring a lot of aspects with respect to artificial intelligence. But what makes DeepSeek different from the other companies? So first important thing is the cost involved. So generally when you train any specific AI model on some set of data, it involves a cost. So with respect to DeepSeek, if we talk about, so DeepSeek has roughly like $5.6 million in order to train its model. On the other hand, if we talk about the OpenAI, so it involved roughly I can tell you the data, $100 million. So it is at the fraction of cost that the DeepSeek was made up by China. The second important aspect is about like what is the efficiency of that particular model. So previously it was like considered that GPU, which is the graphics processing unit, which is a major aspect in order to highlight the compute power of any specific AI module. Now conventionally we know that the America and the Europe is having comparative monopoly over these kind of GPUs. But China, with roughly less than 2000 GPUs, was able to provide the similar kind of responses as the ChatGPT's most advanced AI module. So this is certain breakthrough. Now, maybe you call it like a Sputnik movement or not, but definitely it is a major breakthrough and the market disruptor as far as the AI is concerned. Now, I'll give you one more example, which is about the MMLU, which is massive multitask language understanding. So, this is a kind of test that is being undertaken in order to provide the result of like how an AI module is performing. So on this particular parameter, there are roughly 16,000 questions that were asked to different AI module. So the performance of this DeepSeek module was comparable to the OpenAI's module, which makes it comparatively different at very less cost. So yes, it is a major breakthrough and the market disruptor.
So we can say it is the Mangalyaan movement where the same output was delivered with a fraction of cost.
Exactly, and Sputnik movement, I would say yes. The MOM movement with respect to India, it can be considered because we already have the experience with respect to ISRO to develop the technology at comparatively lesser rates, right? So yes, it is definitely a breakthrough.
So when
movement.
the world, especially the West, like it was pouring money into GPU and they thought that the best way to get a better AI is having more computation power. There comes DeepSeek with almost 2-3,000 GPUs giving the same output and disrupts this all ecosystem, right? So Chiranjeet sir, now since China has arrived, do you see this global race between US and China shaping up this AI ecosystem?
Kapil Sir, thank you for asking this question. In the beginning, you mentioned the word Sputnik or the Sputnik race between the two superpowers of the time, the United States of America and the USSR. Now the situation has slightly changed. We are living in a world in which globalization is at its peak. During the Cold War times, the era was actually witnessing globalization in its nascent stage. And China as a power is much more powerful than the USSR. And its R&D ecosystem is much more developed. And the space race was actually slightly covert in nature. The two countries were not aware of each other's developments. This war is very overt, it's out in the open, and that is because of the visibility of the internet. Okay? Now let's talk about the exact race between the two nations. What happened? We can say that the race began in the 2010s, the decade 2010 to 20, when the big techs of the United States, they're busy working on these AI models. That time, China was focusing on data gathering or data collection. It was not aware of the developments in the United States. Now, this particular war between the two nations, it culminated in the form of the advent of DeepSeek. So, it was already there 10 years ago, it started. Now, what DeepSeek did, it was actually a slap on the face of the United States. It may be slightly strongly worded, but it's very true. Why I would say? Because the United States has been a strong advocate of democratization. It has been the pioneer of democracy. But the first step towards democratization of large language model was taken by China, which is very counterintuitive. And at the same time, China did it using very limited resources, as Sir mentioned in his answer, that the number of GPU processors or accelerators used, it was much less in number. So that is actually something which is going to add to the envy of the United States. One more thing, it has actually catered to or boosted the development of chips manufacturing in China. There is a company called Huawei, which is actually not a very major player like Nvidia in the United States. Now it has gained momentum. Although all the chips that a Chinese company used were manufactured in the United States, but they're not of very good quality. They're not A-grade quality chips which are used in the OpenAI ChatGPT model. So what happened? Because restrictions were imposed on China by the United States. So as we all know that necessity is the mother of invention. So China did its level best. It used its manpower, did a lot of brainstorming, and came up with such a superior algorithm that despite having poor or inferior quality physical infrastructure, it came up with this solid model, what we call DeepSeek. So we can say there is a lot more to come, a lot more to unfold, but yes, we can say the race has started.
So sir, if one important lesson that we can take from history is technology is tool for supremacy and it is a tool for hegemony also. US became a hegemon by the use of technology, whether it's internet or in any other field, right? So when we talk about race of AI, it is also a race for global supremacy. So where do India stand in this race?
Very rightly asked. Actually, if we keep our national sentiments aside, I mean, we should be proud of India's achievement so far, but we have to make an honest assessment of the situation. If you compare India's position with respect to China and the United States, of course, it's not that impressive. The reason being, actually, there are many reasons. The primary reason is the physical infrastructure, and the second most important pillar when it comes to AI model, which is data sets. India does not have quality data sets. So let's try to understand the situation in detail. Now, as per the Stanford AI Index, India has a huge talent pool when it comes to AI and machine learning engineers. And I think India contributes nearly 15% to the global talent pool, which is a good thing. But at the same time, India's investment has been very low. If you look at India's private investment, despite having a high number of startups, 1900 in number, the private investment is nearly 1.5 or 1.8 billion dollars, as compared to China's investment, which is close to $8 billion. And of course, we need not compare India with the United States, which is almost 70 to 80 billion dollars. The second most important thing is having proper data centers. Also, India has already proven its worth by having a data center in the form of Yota in Mumbai, Chembur, which is very huge. We need more of such data centers. Apart from that, cloud services. Now India is solely dependent upon the foreign players, which security wise is not very safe. Then having your own GPUs. Although India has a very ambitious mission, which we'll discuss later, India AI mission, the target set is the creation or manufacturing of, not manufacturing, using 10,000 GPUs, but it's a long way, it's a far cry when we're going to be totally self-dependent, creating indigenously built GPU processors or accelerators. So if you make an overall assessment, India's situation is not that impressive, but we can be hopeful.
To add up to this particular thing, I would just like to add one thing, that economic survey every time that we read, and students we also tend to highlight, that it is not only about like AI ecosystem. Generally, when we talk about the research development and industry academia linkages, this seems to be the one most important issue as far as the investment in the research and development is concerned. Because generally, like as I was going through one article which was highlighting about like the India's service sector is now getting threatened by China, because the arrival of DeepSeek is also going to impact, because what kind of advantage we used to have over other countries about the English speaking, but that DeepSeek and other kind of models have now eroded that particular barrier also. So now this is the crucial time that from 0.7% of our GDP, our research and development investment needs to be paced up in order to achieve the targets that we are taking upon ourselves.
So if I summarize our current position, it is that we have the talent, but we don't have the data and we don't have the infrastructure.
Correct.
So we have yet to start racing. We have yet not start racing. But Vishal sir, I think the government has also understood the importance of this issue, and they have come up with this 100-day AI mission. So can you tell our viewers more about it?
Right. So India AI program that you are talking about. So we will discuss about it, but first let's make a slight correction over here. It's not about that we do not have data. The data is already there, but the structuring of that particular data, how the machine should be understanding this massive amount of data, is one most important thing. Though we have the data available, but the structuring of data is not that much available in the kind of module that LLM needs. So basically this is one such issue. So now talking about the India AI mission, where India has taken upon itself a lot of ambitious targets with respect to like developing of modules. So first important thing that India has taken upon itself is creating a AI module, which is LLM based AI module. So in that particular context, we have set up the ambitious target to achieve it in 100 days. But I would say that to create a AI module, the date or the timeline should be a bit practical, but yes, this is the target that we had taken, and also the kind of quality that we are expecting is of ChatGPT is the most advanced level. So this is the first thing that India AI Mission is highlighting. The second thing is about, as Sir was also talking about, the talent pool that we are having. So one of the largest AI forces with respect to the talent pool that we are already having. But the AI is such kind of technology where every day you need to upskill yourself. So upskilling is taken as the second most important pillar of this particular India AI mission, where we are doing the industry academia linkages with respect to developing upon the skills of that particular talent pool. Now third thing is, when you will have the module available, when you will have the skills available, the third important thing that will be needed now onwards will be the regulation. Now as we have seen from different countries example, regulation should not be the over regulations. There should be certain kind of regulation in order to prevent any kind of misutilization. As we are seeing across the board, there are a lot of misutilization. So that should not be there. So this is the third important aspect. Lastly, with respect to this AI mission of India, the another important aspect is about like identifying the sector. As on the other day I was hearing this Raisina dialogue where the minister was highlighting about the kind of crucial areas where AI can be implemented in India. So the sectors like agriculture, where the one of the largest workforce is available, then the healthcare sector, then the education sector. Apart from that, there is the meteorological sector. Then there is also a defense sector where this particular thing can be changing a lot of landscape. Now, this is not it about the India AI mission. There are certain key pillars that they have taken apart from the four mentioned above, which are highlighting the spirit of India. For example, inclusivity. So when we are talking about any kind of AI module, if it is not inclusive, provided with the diversity that in India we are having, then that particular module might be fitting for one section of the society, not for the other sections. So for that also we are working upon. The next important thing is about the sustainability. So as many such experts have highlighted that in order to improve the processing capabilities, we need processors. The processors runs on energy. So for that we need to identify the sustainable sources of energy. So that is also one more important thing. Last important thing is about ensuring the ethics, ensuring transparency with respect to utilization of these kind of technologies. So I would say these are the kind of key pillars as well as certain kind of things that Government of India is taking upon itself in order to implement the India AI program. However, there are certain recent changes also, like there is a MOU signed between MeitY and the Parliament with respect to utilization of the data of Parliament or the parliamentary proceedings. So the things are going on. Yes, there is a need for fast tracking that particular thing.
So if I summarize, like India already have a good talent pool. Now government is focusing upon getting that structured data as well as those GPUs, right? But till we have a very efficient and powerful local AI model, we will still be relying on the AI models of other countries like US and China. But they poses significant risks. So Chiranjeet sir, what are these risks associated with using these models?
The risks are, as I mentioned in one of my answers, previous answers, security concern. For example, India is still relying upon foreign technologies, not just for microchips, I mean the GPU processors and accelerators, but also cloud services. We're going to rely upon Amazon cloud services or that of some other foreign entities. So I would like to cite a particular example to show how dangerous it can be. And of course, before that I would like to say that our Honorable IT Minister has decided that he has praised the DeepSeek model, but we are not going to use it as it is. We are going to host it in our domestic service for security reasons only. Why? Because when somebody asks DeepSeek about the exact positioning or geographical location of Ladakh, the geographical significance of Ladakh, it was shown as a part of China or maybe something that was very ambiguous, which certainly didn't show it as a part of India. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. The problems can be even more dangerous. And apart from that, which is called data colonialism, that means you have data and you can manipulate it in your own favor. And apart from that, there is also a threat of misinformation, which is very much similar, not very different from what I cited earlier. And in 2007, something very serious happened. The US National Security Agency ran a program called US PRISM, in which it actually asked the major tech players like Google, Facebook, which was very new that time, to share internet user communication with that. NSA, as a result of which we saw an emerging whistleblower in the shape of Edward Snowden. So such issues may be repeated in the future. We have to be very careful.
So, like AI is just not an economic model. It works upon data, information, and it creates a knowledge system also. And if the law of cybernetics teaches us something, it is those who control the knowledge controls the power and energy. So, ensuring sovereignty becomes very crucial. So, Vishal sir, how does India ensure sovereignty when it comes to AI ecosystem?
So as Sir was highlighting regarding data colonialization, now why it is basically happening, because the data's positioning is not within the geographical boundaries of that particular country. The country is not having any kind of control. So now these kind of aspects are going to happen in future also, because we do have different perception as compared to the other countries, and every country in the world is having so. Now the point here that you have asked about the AI or the sovereign model of AI, which should be like inclusive, which should be based upon the sustainable aspects. So for that, basically India has to work on a multi-front or multi-pronged strategy. The first important thing that India has to do is to develop its own model with a data set or the large language model that will be trained on the Indian set of data. Now for that, obviously the data structuring will be one of the most important or the key thing that will be needed. Apart from that, obviously there will be the utilization of energy, because the amount of GPUs that you are going to need. So as IT minister has highlighted, roughly like 18,000 GPUs ka pool we are going to provide in the upcoming days for the developers in order to work upon the AI model. So in order to run those particular GPU, in order to process each and every bit of it, you have to utilize the energy. So for that, obviously you have to also identify the sustainable sources of energy that will be needed. Apart from that, Sir was also highlighting about keeping the data within the country. So data localization, because generally when there are different country models with respect to AI, when they are there, generally they do not allow us to host on the Indian server. They do not allow us to keep the data within India or the territorial boundary of India. So this is the one of the most important thing that India has to do about the data localization, because if the data belongs to India, obviously there should be certain things that has to be kept in the country only. So these are the aspects. Apart from that, obviously, as the DeepSeek model has already highlighted, that the number of GPUs are not going to make that much difference. As of now, we know that with 2000 GPUs, they have provided equitable answers like the 30,000 GPUs model ChatGPT, right? So basically India also have to go for certain kind of like major breakthrough like the ISRO ka case, as I have already highlighted. So these kind of developments India has to do along with the indigenous aspect. So I was like quoting this, the IT minister, he has highlighted the ambitious target of developing its own GPU within 3 to 5 years ka time frame, which I think is also a kind of time frame which can be achievable. So that should be the priority for India as of now.
So, we have looked into the global race of AI. We have looked into where India stand. Now, from here, where does India go now, Chiranjeet sir? What is the way forward?
Very rightly asked. Now, because we already know we have made an assessment of our weaknesses, we also need to understand that there are certain positives. There is a dark cloud, but there is a silver lining as well. Number one, we already have a very strong workforce, okay, talent pool, which is really significant if you look at the global numbers. Second thing, India should not rely upon just borrowing or importing GPU processors and accelerators. So domestic manufacturing, manufacturing in India, it's of utmost importance. And we are actually creating a roadmap which shows that by the end of 2030, we'll be able to create our own chips. But I think each passing day matters. Every passing day, every single day is of utmost importance. So we cannot delay the process. We need to manufacture our own chips. Really we don't know what's going to happen next year or next to next year. Maybe because the global dynamics, they keep changing. So apart from that, I think Yota Chembur, which I also mentioned in one of my answers, I think that sets an example of India's capability of creating physical infrastructure. We can create racks of servers. There is something which we are already good at. For the time being, maybe we can just rely upon technology transfer, but Again, I would like to lay emphasis on the fact that domestic manufacturing is very important. Even if the number of transistors in a particular GPU is not that large, we can rely upon the inference model which the Chinese are very good at. So computer architecture is one major area in which we need to make a lot of investment, especially when it comes to R&D.
Right. So to add upon what Sir has already highlighted, so I would like to again quote the Raisina Summit and the kind of solutions that were provided by Vinod Damji, who is the father of Pentium chip. So he has highlighted 4 important pointers with respect to like how India can remain as a major player of AI. First important thing is to lead this particular race. First, we have to be in the race. So the development should be continuous, the development should be there. So whatever it is, like whether we are not able to achieve that particular target within 100 days, let's make certain kind of like practical targets in order to achieve that particular thing within the stipulated time span. Some relaxation should also be there. Another important thing which the India AI program is also talking about, and he also quoted, that upskilling is the most important thing. As we have one of the largest workforce, there is a need for readily available upskilling on a day-to-day basis, and MITI has also launched a lot of program with regard to this. They are also talking about the industry academia linkages also regarding this. The next important thing with respect to this is the regulation, but not too strict regulation regarding this. Another important thing is about sustainability. So as he was also talking about that we will need a lot of energy. There will be need for a lot of GPUs, the processors, with respect to increasing the compute power of the country itself. So we will need that, and also government has to collaborate with a lot of major market players regarding this. There were, like at the time of digitalization, there were industry academia linkages with respect to providation of that particular technology of digital India. Now similar kind of things should also be there with respect to this AI program, so that even the college going student or the other people should be able to understand that what are basically the important aspects or important area where this AI technology can contribute. And here to add upon one more thing that we have discussed about sovereignty. So to develop our own capabilities, be it take like 3 years, 5 years, or maybe some more years, but India have to ensure that it should have its own technology. Because with the DeepSeek also, like why we are considering it as a major breakthrough, because despite certain ban from US, China was able to develop. So if India will be having its own GPU system, the manufacturing, if it is there in India, then we can say that we are actually Atmanirbhar with respect to the AI technology. So these are certain things. Apart from that, obviously making our own AI model which is based on the data which is there in India. So these are the things.
And one thing that DeepSeek has done is, you will see these talks about regulation about AI, they are gone. Right. Now we have advantage of not having any regulation by EU or let's suppose say USA. Right. Everybody has understood this is a race and you have to win. Regulation can be tackled later on. Thank you panelists for this detailed discussion. So viewers, I hope now you have a good idea about where this global race for artificial intelligence is heading and where do India stand in it right now. Tell us in comment section, can India achieve its own local robust AI? And do like, share and subscribe. Thank you.